He is Mr. College Football. GridironNow.com is a website where you will find him quite often, in addition to the SEC Network and everywhere else you know him. Tony Barnhart, how you doing, sir?
Chris, I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm good. Kind of like you, counting down the days to media days. We got spring out of the way. Now we need to get to that so we can get everything rolling in the other direction, right?
Yeah. But between now and media days is June, and June is when I go run away and hide for a while. And I'm trying to get to the SEC meetings in Destin, and then June.
Yeah, because Destin, as much as I may love the 5-minute drive to Hoover for media days, I can see where Destin would be the better destination of the two. I can definitely relate to what you were talking about in your column today, though. We know who really knows what we do for a living based on when they think our downtime is.
Yeah.
You got hit with it at church, everybody thinking you're done, but I don't think anybody could turn on ESPN or anything else as of late sports-related and think it's a slow time right now.
Well, and more now, people say, well, this is your downtime, right? And no matter when it is, it's not. And what that tells us is that there really is no off season in college football anymore. I mean, we joke that it's a 12-month-a-year sport, but that's not a joke. It's a 12-month-a-year sport, and it's always something. And Thursday night's NFL draft was one for the books.
Well, not just the draft itself, but a year that sees Ole Miss accomplish what they accomplished, yet still fail to win the West. In a year that has them with 3 players taken in the first round of the draft and still has the circus that took place last Thursday night, how will this year, ultimately, the story of it, look for Hugh Freeze and for Ole Miss football?
Well, Chris, that's the big question. When people ask me about what happened Thursday night, I said, there are 2 views of this. There's the short view and the long view. The short view is that Thursday night was a disaster. Thursday night for Ole Miss. So that it was supposed to be a night when there were going to be a lot of pictures taken with Hugh Freeze and the 3 players all holding up number 1 jerseys to be first-round draft choices. Historic, something that's never happened. So that picture didn't get taken, and that's not what anybody's talking about. So in the short term, it was bad for Ole Miss. Now, the long term, I've been to Oxford. I sat down with Hugh Freeze and talked to a bunch of people, and they feel like they're going to have a pretty good team. What you never know, and if anybody knows, they're lying. What you never know is what kind of impact this has on the program. Sometimes it has none, okay, because the guys we're talking about are gone, and the investigation, however long it's going to last, doesn't impact the players in the program. So you just don't. The long-winded answer I just gave you, your question, is we don't know.
Yeah. Does it still fall under the we don't know category, that whether or not the events of Thursday have extended what we already knew was inside of a 30-day window for that last investigation to be extended?
Yeah, because what we don't know is, you remember, and we all remember, that Laremy Tunsil set out the first 7 games of last season, obviously for some NCAA issue. The question is, did this fall under that? Or is this completely new information that's got to be checked out? If it is, then that could extend what has been already a long NCAA investigation. But until we know for sure where this piece of information falls and what actually happened. I mean, what Laremy Tunsil said was at best vague, other than he said, I have to say yes to giving money, but where does that money fall? Who gave it? What was the source? There's tons of questions we don't have answers to. But if it's new information to the NCAA, then yes, it could absolutely extend the investigation.
$20 million. That's what it comes down to, that those 2 guys lost.
Yeah, I mean, I got to give credit to our friends over at AL.com. They put together the salary chart based on surveys from Forbes and a bunch of other people. But these days, you can pretty much guess what the contracts are going to be worth, depending on where you're slotted in the draft. And when you put the money, Laremy Tunsil was going to be number 3. after the two quarterbacks went, and he fell to 13. Robert Kendichi was top 10 at worst, and if he had gone at 10 instead of going where he went at 29, so you add the numbers together, and yeah, I think those guys left about $20 million on the table.
Tony Barnhart joining us,
or somebody, excuse me, Chris, or somebody else got it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. As you put very well in the teachable moment category for players, somebody else got your money that you could have gotten. Another, as you put it, cautionary tale. According to all the reports, Bo Davis was let go from Alabama, officially resigned, but out the door, not necessarily, Tony, for what he did, but for what he didn't admit to. Is that fair to say?
Most of the time, it's not the crime, it's the cover-up. And based on the reporting coming out of there is that he was less than truthful when asked about this situation. And if that happens, and I tell this to people all the time, players and coaches, if you're involved in an NCAA investigation at any level, you can say no comment. You can say it's none of your business, but you cannot lie. If you lie, it's like lying to the feds. You're done. And apparently, based on the reporting, Bo Davis was less than truthful when asked about this.
Let me ask you, because you point out two examples. Aubrey Hill, the Florida assistant back in 2012, Joker Phillips, also a Florida assistant, 2014, and how once they were out of the picture, so too basically was any problem for Florida going forward with the NCAA. Has that mindset with the NCAA office changed over the last 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it is? They're more concerned with you getting it right going forward than necessarily what you've done in the past. I'm not saying there's not a penalty to pay, but if they see that it's one guy, one issue, one mistake, as long as you're showing that you've gotten that cleared up going forward, you're pretty much fine as far as they're concerned.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And basically what they're looking for, and the conferences know this, the conferences know that when something like this happens, your job, if a player had been involved, the first thing you do is declare the player ineligible. Then you investigate and said, okay, here's exactly what happened. Okay, and based on our investigation, here's what happened. This is what he took, and this is what we tend to do about it. And you put together your report, run it past the conference office, and then if the NCAA is satisfied with your report and the sanctions that you self-imposed, pretty much that's it. But if they think you're obfuscating or trying to cover stuff up, that's when you get in real trouble.
Tony Barnhart joining us on Tide 99.1. You cover a lot of different things in your column, but in my question to you, with Jim Harbaugh, when all is said and done, is he really making his program any better than he would have, and maybe even any quicker, had he taken a little lower profile than he has on some things?
Well, only in the sense, Chris, that the brand is out there, okay? Because, listen, Michigan forever has been the definitive, starch button-down shirt brand of college football. I mean, they're as conservative as it comes. Jim Harbaugh is trying to tweak that a little bit, and I think his ability to wave the Michigan flag and get it out there to listen. You got it. We've all got to admit that more people are paying attention to Michigan football, which has not been particularly relevant here lately. More people are paying attention now. Does all of that attention and all of that branding equate signing better football players to the University of Michigan? And that's the story that has to be told when we find out.
How surprised are you that Kirby has decided to team up with him on the camp that's in Atlanta?
I mean, is this a great country or what? I mean,
keep your friends close, your enemies closer. Is that what we're looking at?
Exactly right, Godfather. That's what we need to do. No, it's because 3 weeks ago, Kirby was sort of slapping Harbaugh around. Then Harbaugh, of course, I will give Harbaugh this. he has a touch of the whimsy, because he said if he thinks that we're using these opportunities to break the rules, then he's barking up the wrong tree. I mean, to be able to use the dog analogy, I thought was
he
very
giggled
good.
when he sent that. I mentioned that last week.
So no, it's listen, everybody. It's amazing that when they reinstated the satellite camps, that all these coaches almost hurt each other, running over each other, because they already had these things set up just in case. So yeah, you got Kirby Smart and Jim Harbaugh working the same camp. And you know what? You think any media might show up to that camp now? I mean, you think that's even a possibility that might happen? You know,
might be a camera or two around and a scribe to be found. Hey, last thing before I let you go, you're one of the most respected people in sports journalism and certainly in college football, but you're also you're a Georgia guy. It's been home for a long, long time, and while there are a lot of people that wanted to see a change in the leadership, there are aspects of Mark Richt that you hate to see go, and I guess that just came back to light with the tweet that he sent out. It kind of under the radar for most, but he was back home this week, and tough for a lot of people to tell him officially, I guess, goodbye.
Well, and one of the things he tweeted out, his wife, Catherine, has been in nursing school for several years now, and she was graduating from nursing school in Athens. And so Coach Richt came back and just tweeted out, hey, thank you for the memories that I finally had a chance to reflect. And Kirby Smart showed a class act wishing both of them well. And Coach Richt and Mark Richt wished Kirby Smart well. Look, Chris, what I tell people about this situation, Mark Richt is one of the most genuinely good human beings I've met in coaching. But at the same time, after 15 years, I think it was a situation where, frankly, both sides needed a change of scenery. I didn't like the fact that a guy that averaged 9.6 wins a year for 15 years was basically asked to leave. I didn't like the optics of that. But now that some time has passed and Kirby Smart's in place, I think it was a situation where both sides needed a change.